Back on Big Ten today, Oklahoma and Nebraska tomorrow in Lincoln. Second game of a home-and-home between these historic rivals. The Sooners won by a touchdown last year in Norman. Oklahoma, 50 conference championships all-time. That leads all of FBS. Nebraska is second with 46 all-time conference titles. So two of the best programs in the history of the game going head-to-head, which leads us to our big interview. It is Nebraska interim head coach Mickey Joseph taking over for Scott Frost, who, as we know, was let go on Sunday. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. As you prepare for this game, how would you describe the psyche of your team right now?
I think they're in a good state of mind right now. You know, it's been a tough week for those kids. But I expressed to them this morning that, you know, tough times don't last, tough people do. But the ball's going to kick off Saturday, and we need to be prepared. But it's been a tough week for the boys.
And it's not just kicking off against anyone. It's kicking off against Oklahoma. This is obviously a huge rivalry game. You know it well. You played quarterback yourself at Nebraska. What have you told your team, some of these players who don't know a whole lot about this rivalry, about what Oklahoma-Nebraska means to this program?
We really hadn't spoke about the rivalry. We spoke about that we have 9 games left, 9 stop signs, as we would say. And the stop sign that we at right now is OU. So we really hadn't spoke about the rivalry because these kids are right. They're not old enough to understand what the rivalry means. But we got to understand there's no names, no faces. We got to get out and do our job. So really, I don't want them focusing on, well, it's a rival game. You know, they're all rival games to us. They all are. Whoever's on the schedule is a rival game.
Well, let me put it to you differently then. You certainly know what the rivalry means to the fans at Nebraska, and they are going to view it maybe differently than the players will. As I mentioned, you played quarterback at Nebraska. You were injured in this game about 30 years ago on what was a late hit, frankly, out of bounds that, for all intents and purposes, ended your career. So give me a sense of what it means to you personally to face the Sooners.
Well, you know what? Just looking across that field, seeing that OU on the helmet, you know, it's going to bring back a lot of emotions. But at the end of the day, you know, we got to come out. We got to play really well to beat this team. This team's a really solid football team. They got really good players. They got really good schemes. They got really good coaches. Brett Venables is a really good head coach. He was a great D coordinator. So we got to play lights out, you know, to beat them.
I want to break down the game in just a bit, but I want to ask you a little bit about yourself. And you have said you went to great lengths in your news conference to say, hey, this is not about me, it's about the players. And I totally get and respect that. I do understand that. But I would just say, like, outside of the state of Nebraska, not a whole lot of people may know your story, and it is a really fascinating story. I mean, you're from New Orleans. You left that city to go to Nebraska to play for Tom Osborne. What does Nebraska mean? What does the state mean to you? What does the university mean to you?
Well, I wouldn't be sitting here in this chair if it wasn't for the University of Nebraska. You know, Coach Osborne and Jack Pierce, bless his soul, he passed on recently. But they came to New Orleans and they recruited me, and they sold this university to my mother. It came down between OU and Nebraska. But my mama really had a special feeling about Coach Osborne, that she thought he was going to be a really good father figure for me, being away from home, being that far away from home. So she trusted what he said, and she trusted that he was going to keep his word about, you know, keeping me straight, making sure I graduated from college. And the state of Nebraska has always supported me, and it's some of the greatest fans that you can ever imagine. And you know, just coming back here, open arms, you know, people just reaching out to me, glad I'm coming back, glad I came back. But like I said, it's not about me. It's about the kids. And that's why I want to do a really good job for them.
Yeah, I know this isn't the circumstances that you would have ever wanted to take over in, but I mean, it's amazing to look at your journey as a coach. I mean, you were a high school coach in the state of Nebraska. You've coached at just about every level of the game. I mean, NAIA, HBCUs, and then major colleges. I mean, you were at LSU before you came to Nebraska. What does it feel like? I know you're a head coach at Langston, so it's the first time you've been a head coach. But what does it feel like to be a head coach, not just at a Power 5 school, Again, not in the circumstances you anticipated, but to be the head coach at your alma mater right now. I mean, as Trev said Sunday, you're the coach, you're the guy. No one's second guessing you right now. It's you.
Well, if you look at the journey, it's been a long journey. It's been a lot of U-Hauls, a lot of moves, and that's part of it. But I wouldn't change anything from my past because I learned a lot. I was under a lot of great head coaches from L.C. Cole, Darryl Day, Ed Ogeron, who I speak to, a lot, and so I've been under a lot of good head coaches, and I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot when I was at Alcorn State with Jay Hobson. When I learned a whole bunch, and just using everything that I learned along the way to help me get to this spot. And just being with Coach Ogeron for 5 years, that really helped me. Being a couple of months with Skip Holtz, that helped me. So I've been under a lot of really good head coaches, and I paid attention to that because I knew I wanted to be a head coach. And everybody used to always say, "Oh, you got to be a coordinator to do that." And I didn't. I disagree with that. I think you got to have a really strong mind, but you got to be a leader of young men. And that's what I think my strong suit is, that I can lead young men, and I'm a natural born leader. And that's what I in communicating with players and understanding players. I think that helps me a lot in the situation that I'm in right now.
I'm sure it has not been lost on you. It has been discussed quite a bit this week. You are the first African-American head coach in any sport at the University of Nebraska. What do you think when you hear that?
Well, it helps younger black coaches, to dream and know that they can be sitting in a chair like this. But it also shows you that University of Nebraska is going to be diverse. That they're not looking at skin color. They put the guy that they see who best fits the program, who understands the lay of the land here at Nebraska. Because this Nebraska is different than LSU, and it's a totally different program. But for Trev to have the faith in me to get this done, because I know the lay of the land. I don't think he picked me because I was a black coach. I've been a black coach my whole life, but I think he picked me because I have the credentials and I have the mindset to take on this program.
To what extent do you feel like you're auditioning for the job, Coach?
Got 9 weeks. Got to win. We understand this profession. One thing about me, I'm a straight shooter, and I understand this profession for what it is. You got to win. You got to win. You got 9 weeks to show that you can get it done. And then after the 9th game, then you see where you're at, then you'll go from there. But right now, I'm focusing on one game at a time, and this week is OU.
I mentioned how fascinating your history is. You are from New Orleans. When Katrina hit, you were coaching at a school in the lower 9th Ward. You had to relocate the school. You spent weeks trying to track down all of your players, trying to figure out where everyone was. Ended up relocating the school to Florida, getting in touch with all of the players. It obviously was an incredibly traumatic situation for these young people. You mentioned being a molder of young men. How did that whole experience impact you and change you?
Well, at the time when Katrina hit, I was the head coach, and I said, you know what, we're going to get back together on Tuesday because look like this hurricane's going to turn, and it didn't. It was turning more toward New Orleans, and once it hit, Danny Warford, who was the CEO at the time, got in touch with me. He said, hey, we need to go get our boys. We need to find out where they're at and go get them. And at the time, we had 195 boys in the school, 7th through 12th grade. We had one 12th grader. That's all we needed to be eligible to play in the Louisiana High School Sports Association. So we gathered all the coaches up in Dallas, and we just dispersed out and went and found our kids. We found 96 of them, and we relocated to Niceville, Florida, to Camp Timbucci, was ran by the University of Florida. It was a 4-H camp, and we stayed in the cabins, and we kept them there from September to April. And it was hard because you had to spend every day of the week with these kids because they had nowhere else to go on the weekend. It's like they didn't go home after school. They stayed with you. So during the day, you had to be an administrator and a football coach, but then at night, you had to be a father to all those boys. And, you just take the hat off to the coaches that was there with me at the time because they had to go through the same thing. And it's taught you a lot that, always sit back and put yourself in the player's shoes as a coach. and try to understand them and listen to them. You know, a lot of coaches don't listen to their players. They just get after them. You know, you got to listen to them sometimes, because if you listen, they'll tell you a lot. And that's what happened during Katrina. They told you about they home situation. They told you a lot what was going on with them, and that helped me along the way.
Yeah, I realize, and I don't want to in any way draw parallels between what happened there, which is life and death and people losing their homes and incredible trauma, which will unfortunately stick with them throughout their lives. I don't want to draw parallels. I understand that that is different from what has happened to the players you have right now. But these players are hurting too, right? I mean, they have gone through something that they did not anticipate.
Yes.
Are you able to use that experience in any way to help navigate these waters?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The minute Trev said you're going to be interim, my focus went straight to the boys, and I knew I had to be the shoulder to lean on, put my arms around them, let them know, assure them that everything was going to be okay, that I was going to continue to coach them, but at the end of the day, I was going to care for them as a human being, that they were more than me, just a football player, that I see what's inside the face mask, not just the jersey, and I'm going to treat them as such. You know, and it's about having respect for them, but also, you know, knowing that they're hurting, you know, and Coach Frost recruited this entire 85 scholarship kids, except some of the transfers. He sat in all their living room, so they're going to be hurt. You know, put yourself in a situation, they're going to be hurt, but that's why it has got to be a trust issue, and I think they trust me. That's the big thing. I think they trust me because they know I'm going to tell them the truth. I'm going to shoot them straight. I'm not gonna talk around it. I'm gonna get straight to the point, and I'm here to help them. And I'm here to help them in any way. And they know my door is always open, and they can come see me anytime, and they can talk to me about anything. And I think they understand that.
Well, as I said, I did want to talk a little bit about OU here. And if we were shooting straight with your players, you would say the biggest troubles have been on defense, no doubt. How do you get that straight? What have you done this week to try to get the defense, for lack of a better word, fixed before you take on the Sooners?
We're detailing. We detailing more now. We're detailing, what we're doing in the box with the front seven. We're detailing what we're doing in the back end with the defensive backs. So it's more detail right now, and it's more, let's see what they can do. Let's see what they can do. And whatever they can do, that's what we're going to play. If they can't do it, then we're not going to do it. So it's detailing and simplifying things from back there. And I'm looking forward, and I'm happy to. And I can't wait to see these kids come out on Saturday, the defense, and play. But at the end of the day, like I told the defense, y'all wasn't out there by yourself. The offense was out there also. The special teams was out there also. Everybody's got to do the job. We got to play well in all three phases to help the defense. The offense has to play well, and the special team has to play well. And they got to do their part. And I have for sure know that they're going to do their part.
Mickey Joseph, the interim head coach of the Cornhuskers. Coach, really appreciate your time. I know it's been a whirlwind of a week, but very kind of you to spend a chunk of it here with us.
Thank you. Go Big Red.